This is 3 News Now, your daily update on everything Northeast Ohio with Stephanie Haney.
Hello everyone, welcome back to 3 News Now on this Tuesday, August 30th. I'm Stephanie Haney here with your top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Thank you for being here for the stories that matter most to you here in Northeast Ohio. These are the stories that you are clicking on, reading, and sharing from our website and from our app. And we start with an update on a situation in Mayfield today. There was a plane crash at Mayfield Middle School, and we do know the students are all fine. There are, however, 3 reported injuries, and now we know the names of the pilots. Presumably those injured are the pilots. We didn't get direct confirmation of that, so I will not say that directly, but that is the presumption at the moment. So the names of the pilots involved at the plane crash at Mayfield Middle School are Lawrence Roll, 79 years old, out of Willoughby. That's the lead pilot, the flight trainer in the scenario. Catherine Therese, 27 years old, from University Heights. That's a pilot in training. And then Ted Reipel III. That is a 52-year-old from Waite Hill, and he was a passenger in the plane. So according to the Ohio State Highway Patrol, the crash, as I said, has resulted in 3 injuries. This was a small plane occupied by pilots who were performing a training exercise. In that training exercise, they purposely stalled the engine of the plane before trying to reignite it. Now, the engine apparently malfunctioned during this training exercise before a co-pilot took over for an emergency landing, and that emergency landing is what resulted in that crash at Mayfield Middle School. So the Ohio State Highway Patrol says that the pilots handled the situation exactly how they were supposed to in the scenario, trying to rectify what had happened there. So the crash happened near the lower football field near the middle school. It was not considered a safety concern for the school, and no evacuations of the school were necessary. Now, as we get more information, we will bring that to you, information that we are able to share, if we are able to share it, about the status of the injuries of those people involved. Now today, the legal team representing the family of Jayland Walker, who was shot and killed by 8 Akron police officers, held a press conference, and they're talking about recently released video showing the moments following his fatal shooting. So it's body cam footage, and it was obtained after there was a lawsuit filed by the Akron Beacon Journal. And what it shows is, it shows Walker appearing to move briefly. This is after dozens of shots were fired into him by the officers. The officers handcuffed Walker and then began medical assistance. He was, however, already gone by that time. One officer can be heard saying on this video, "Go blue," before the group begins to turn off the microphones on their body cameras. And later, a female officer at the scene turns off her camera altogether. This is after a suggestion from a colleague, from another police officer. So at today's briefing today, Attorney Bobby DeCello talked about the police department's actions throughout the investigation and called on them to set an example of transparency. He was wondering why the additional footage was not released when the body camera video of the shooting itself was released, which happened just days after the shooting. He also wondered what officers might have done or said when they could not be seen or heard. As a reminder, here's what happened. Walker was shot and killed in June. On June 27th, police say he'd fired a shot at one point during a vehicle pursuit, but was unarmed at the time that officers fired on him and had been chasing him on foot. The gun was found in Walker's vehicle. That's according to police. Now, in a conversation with the Beacon Journal on Friday, Captain Dave Laughlin said that members of the department are permitted to turn off their cameras and microphones in certain situations, particularly when direct citizen contact is complete. Walker was the only citizen involved in this incident, so the captain says that that would be true in this scenario, although DeCello, the attorney for the family, disagreed with that characterization of the situation. Attorney said Akron Police Chief Steve Milet did admit that there was more video when the two sides met months ago, but he didn't say exactly what that footage would show. And now they're criticizing city leaders, attorneys for the family, for what they are calling misleading them during that process. Now, August is Black Business Month. This is a month to pay attention to and to patronize Black businesses throughout the country. So as a focus or a feature for Black Business Month, we talked with a Cleveland lawyer who became what she calls the people's Esquire during pandemic hardships. Her name is Arlisha Wilson, and she serves clients in what she calls the justice gap. Now, this is a interesting space to be operating because, you know, we do have the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland here in town, but you do have to fall under a certain income threshold in order to qualify for legal aid assistance. This is lawyers assisting you with civil issues, not criminal issues. So where Arlisha Wilson comes in is she serves clients in the justice gap, people who cannot afford an expensive attorney but make too much money to be served by legal aid. So the way she puts it is she services everyday people who have everyday struggles, who just need the help. So she graduated with a law degree and a master's in urban planning from Cleveland State University. That was in 2017. And the next year she passed the bar, licensed to practice in the state of Ohio. And in 2021, just to give you a snapshot of what the practice area looks like, in 2021, only 4.7% of the members of the state bar were Black individuals like Arlisha Wilson. So Cleveland resident Brenda Starks is one person who talked about how she benefited from Arlisha's help. She said she was in the middle of a rent-to-own agreement and she lost her purchase agreement. That's the contract that says, this is what we're doing here, you're making payments, this is a rent-to-own situation. So she lost that very important paperwork. But with Arlisha's help, she was able to prove the case, to prove that was the scenario, that she was making payments under a rent-to-own agreement, and won her case. And she said if not for Arlisha, she would have been homeless. So that's just one example of the type of things Arlisha is helping people with in this justice gap. So she says she's managed close to 500 legal matters since starting her own law firm, which she got started in just before the pandemic. And she said it was her real estate background that really helped her in that space find people that she would be able to help and allow her law firm to grow throughout the pandemic. So now, Arlisha, who dreamed as a little girl of becoming a judge, now dreams of growing this business into a national multi-million-dollar law firm, and she wants to help more people as the people's Esquire. Great work that Arlisha is doing. We are very thankful to have you here in the Northeast Ohio area. Now let's talk about something you need to know from the Postal Service. If you're mailing things, it's possible that that price may go up just a bit, and that might happen in July because the USPS has proposed a price increase for stamps, and if it is approved, that'll take effect July 10th, so a little less than a year from now. But the new stamp price for forever stamps would go up 2 cents. It would go from 58 cents to 60 cents. And there are other proposed price increases as well, including the cost to mail a postcard, the cost to mail things to other countries, also certified mail, P.O. box, rental fees, money order fees, and the cost to buy insurance when you're mailing an item. So for all of that breakdown of those proposed price increases, you can find that on WKYC.com. Now let's talk about money in a different way, because if you're interested in seeing the Guardians in the final month of the regular baseball season, you could do it for a little bit cheaper now. They say that José Ramirez is taking over the box office because he is number 11. And in honor of that, the Guardians are selling tickets for just $11 to get people out to the ballpark while the Guardians are in this pennant race right now. So the deal lasts through Friday at 11:59 p.m. because the Guardians want to do what they are calling Pack Progressive Field for a matchup between two playoff contenders that will also air as part of Fox's Baseball Night in America. And that's the matchup against the Seattle Mariners this weekend. They're also, by the way, expanding the college student offer to include all Friday and Saturday home games through the end of the regular season. So if you're currently in college and you're registered with Student Beans, you can either buy upper bleacher or upper reserve seats for only $10 a piece. You can get up to 8 tickets per game if you want to do that. So we've got the dates that are listed that include all of that on WKYC.com. So make sure you check that out. Also, the Family Value Pack has been extended to include all Saturday games through this final month of the regular season. So it's $80 plus fees, and family get 4 tickets in the family deck. So for your $80, though, half of that is a $40 voucher for concessions and merchandise. And then you can also buy additional seats at $20 a piece, and that's $10 for the ticket plus a $10 voucher. So you're spending $40 on the tickets, and then you're basically promising to spend $40 on concessions and merchandise. We've got all of that laid out for you on WKYC.com. Great time to get to the ballpark for sure. Now, as we look to what's happening in the football world, there's been a little bit of controversy around Baker Mayfield and some comments that he may or may not have made after playing the Buffalo Bills in the preseason with the Carolina Panthers. So, appearing on the Around the NFL podcast, NFL Network analyst Cynthia Frelund had talked about a conversation that she had with Baker Mayfield. Now, it's not exactly clear what exact words Baker Mayfield said, but the gist of it was they were having a conversation and she said, want you to do well, and there was a comment made by her, that's what we heard on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show today, a comment made by her about go expletive up the Browns or go expletive up the teams this season in speaking in generalities. And what she said today, clarifying the comments, is that Baker Mayfield kind of just agreed with what she said, and she talked about how he's always been spirited since then. So a lot of conversation happening today about whether it was appropriate for her to reveal that conversation on a podcast, and she kind of clarified today that the spirit of it was not negativity, and it was a positive interaction between her and Baker Mayfield, and just kind of talking about doing well for the season, painting herself as a fan of Baker Mayfield and wanting to see him do well for the season generally. So lots of conversation happening about that today, but she cleared up today that it was about going out there and being positive and nothing negative about it. Now here in Cleveland, the Cleveland Browns have announced their initial 53-man roster for the 2022 season, so they cut 17 players from the roster today. A couple notables. You may remember that guy named guard Blake Hance. He is no longer on the team. Another one, fullback Johnny Stanton IV, and we've got the full list of everyone who did not make the cut on WKYC.com. In addition to that, the contracts of quarterback Josh Rosen and running back John Kelly Jr. were terminated, and Deshaun Watson, who is now serving, or actually as of today, beginning to serve his 11-game suspension for sexual assault. He was placed on the league's reserve or suspended list, and he will not be able to be back with the Browns for quite some time. It'll be December before he's able to play a game, and we've got all of that laid out for you. That's in WKYC.com. So one thing to let you know before we go here today, our high school game of the week is back, and there are 3 nominees for week 3, so you can vote now on WKYC.com. That poll is open through Thursday at noon, and the matchups are Cleveland-Glenville versus Avon, Mayfield versus Nordonia, Parma-Normandy versus North Ridgeville, and Medina versus Wadsworth. So if you have a dog in one of those fights and you want to see WKYC feature one of those contests as the high school football game of the week, make sure you go to WKYC.com and vote for your choice. All right, that's it for your 3 News Now update today for Tuesday, August 30th. I will see you back here tomorrow with more 3 News Now.
Thanks for listening to 3 News Now with Stephanie Haney from WKYC Studios. Subscribe now so you never miss an update, and find more on everything you heard here on WKYC.com and in the WKYC app.